I still remember the way the kitchen light flickered that evening, casting long shadows across the worn tiles we'd promised to replace one day. My name is Sarah, and for 15 years, I built my entire world around the man I called my husband, David. We weren't rich, but we had love, 2 beautiful children, and a small house filled with laughter. Or at least, I thought we did. It was a Tuesday, the kind of ordinary night where dinner was. Pasta and the kids were arguing over the remote. I'd been saving for months, clipping coupons, working extra shifts at the school, just so we could finally take that family trip to the mountains I'd dreamed about since our honeymoon. I slid the brochure across the table, my voice soft with hope. David, look, it's not even that expensive. The kids would love it. He didn't even glance at the pictures. He just stared at his plate, fork scraping slowly, and sighed that heavy sigh I'd grown used to. Sarah, he said, voice flat, in this economy, this is all you can handle right now. The words hung there, cheap and small, like he was measuring my dreams in pennies. For a second, I felt the sting, the way my chest tightened. Then I did the only thing I could think of. I laughed. A real laugh. Light and teasing. The kind you give when you think your husband is just being dramatic again. Oh, come on, David, I said, still smiling, reaching for his hand. You sound like my grandfather. We'll be fine. We always are. He didn't smile back. He just pulled his hand away and muttered something about bills before disappearing into his study. I laughed again, softer this time, telling myself it was nothing. That night, I tucked the brochure into my drawer, still believing tomorrow would be better. But what I didn't know, what I couldn't possibly imagine, was that those words weren't about the economy at all. They were the first crack in a lie, so deep it would shatter everything. I thought I knew about the man I loved. We had built a life together, late-night talks, holding each other through my mother's illness, celebrating every small win with ice cream on the porch. I trusted him with every penny, every secret, every fear. He was my safe place. And yet, in the weeks that followed, little things started to feel off. His phone face down more often, late nights at the office, new clothes I never saw receipts for. I brushed it all aside, telling myself I was being paranoid. After all, he was the one always preaching about being careful with money. He was protecting us, right? I had no idea I was living with a stranger. But what I didn't know, that day in the kitchen would come crashing down on me like a storm I never saw coming. It started with a text I wasn't meant to see. I was charging his phone while he was in the shower. Something I'd done 1,000 times without thinking. The screen lit up with a notification. Can't wait to see you tonight, baby. The kids miss their daddy. My heart stopped. The sender's name was Lisa, not a work colleague, not a friend, someone who knew about the kids. Plural. I stood there frozen, the phone trembling in my hand, while the shower water kept running. When David came out, towel around his waist, he saw my face and the color drained from his. For the first time in our marriage, he looked small. Sarah, it's not what you think, he started, but the lie died on his lips when I held up the phone. I didn't scream. I couldn't. My voice came out in a whisper, broken and raw. Who is she, David? And whose kids are those? The truth spilled out like poison. For 4 years he had been living a double life. Lisa wasn't just anyone. She was the woman he'd met at a work conference. The one he'd told me was just a client. They had a 3-year-old son together and a baby girl on the way. While I was clipping coupons and telling our children, "Daddy's working hard so we can have nice things," he was buying her flowers, paying her rent, taking her on weekend getaways with the money he claimed the economy wouldn't let us touch. Every time I asked for more for the kids' school fees, for a new fridge, for that stupid mountain trip, he had looked me in the eye and said, "This is all you can handle," because the rest was going to her, to them. I felt my world split open. The man who once kissed my forehead every morning had been choosing another family while I carried hours on my back. I cried for days, locked in our bedroom, replaying every moment, every "I love you," every promise. The children kept asking where mommy was. I told them I had the flu, but inside I was shattered. How do you explain to your heart that the person you trusted most was stealing your life, piece by piece? I confronted him again that same night, voice shaking but steady. "Why? Why would you do this to us?" He couldn't even look at me. I thought I could handle both. Lisa needed me. "You're so strong, Sarah. You always figured things out." Strong. The word tasted like ash. He had used my strength against me. While I was being strong, he was building another home, another future, another lie. The betrayal didn't stay hidden for long. 2 weeks later, at my sister's birthday dinner, the truth exploded. Lisa showed up at our door pregnant, furious, waving bank statements I had never seen. She thought David had left me. She thought I knew. The family sat in stunned silence as the receipts scattered across the table. Vacations I never took, gifts I never received, a second apartment I never knew existed. My mother-in-law's face crumpled. My father looked like he'd been punched. Even the children, peeking from the hallway, heard enough to start crying. In that moment, I stopped being the wife who laughed it off. I stopped being the one who made excuses. Something inside me shifted from broken to burning. The pain was still there, raw and deep, but beneath it rose a quiet, terrifying strength. I was done protecting him. It was time to protect myself and my children. I didn't rush. I planned. While David begged and cried and promised it was over, I quietly gathered every piece of evidence: screenshots, bank records I accessed through our joint accounts, even messages from Lisa that proved he had been lying to both of us. I met with a lawyer in secret, the kind who fights for women who have been erased. I opened my own account, moved every cent I could without him noticing, and started documenting the emotional damage for the divorce papers. The climax came on a rainy Friday evening, exactly 1 month after the truth exploded. I invited the entire family back to our house: his parents, my sister, even Lisa, who had nowhere else to turn after realizing she'd been used too. David walked in thinking it was another Let's Talk session. He saw the suitcase by the door and froze. I stood tall in the living room, voice steady for the first time in weeks. "David, you told me this is all you can handle. You were right. I can't handle lies. I can't handle sharing my husband with a second family. And I won't make our children handle it either." I played the recordings. I laid out the papers. I looked him in the eyes. Same eyes I once found safety in, and said, "You wanted 2 lives. Now you have none with us." He crumbled right there on the floor, sobbing, begging in front of everyone. His mother turned away in disgust. My father told him, to leave. Lisa, holding her belly, whispered that she was done too. In one evening, the man who had controlled everything lost it all: his home, his respect, his secret world. The divorce was swift. The court saw the financial betrayal, the emotional abuse disguised as economy. I kept the house. I kept the children. And I kept my dignity. David moved into a tiny apartment near Lisa's, working 2 jobs just to pay the child support for both families. The last time I saw him, he looked at me with empty eyes and whispered, "I never thought you'd actually leave." I didn't answer. I just closed the door. Today, the house feels lighter. The children are healing, laughing again. I took that mountain trip alone with them, and it was more beautiful than I ever imagined. The pain is still there some nights, but it no longer owns me. If there's one thing I've learned from this shattered chapter, it's this: never laugh off the small words that diminish you. They are the warning signs of a much bigger lie. Trust is a gift, but self-respect is the foundation. When someone tells you what you can handle, believe them and then prove to yourself that you can handle so much more. You can walk away. You can rebuild. And sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't loud or cruel. It's simply choosing to live a life they no longer get to touch. I'm Sarah, and I'm finally free.